You know, I saw a video on YouTube. It said if you had coolant in your oil, you could taste it. It would be sweet. I don't know. I think it tastes pretty good, actually. All right, welcome back to Rust Order Garage. And if you saw my last video where I was doing the turbo install, I primed my oil line to the turbo and got a milkshake out of it. Not good. First thought, popped head gasket, blown up. Well, for those who didn't see it, here's what the oil looked like that came out of the engine. So here's the oil that came out of my engine. And this has been sitting in this cup undisturbed for a week. And the thing to notice about this is that the color is uniform. It's the same all the way through. It looks a little darker, I think, than what it was when it came out. I think when it came out, I remember it more of that color. But it's a little darker maybe, but it's uniform. And the reason that is important to notice is that if you mix coolant and oil, they don't mix. And if you get coolant in your oil, the coolant is going to sink to the bottom, whether it's water or antifreeze or whatever. It's not going to mix, and it's going to separate, and the oil will float on top. This has been this way for a week, and nothing has changed. So this morning, I came out and made myself a control because it's an experiment, right? Now, what's that? Control cup. That's some of my Dexcool, same stuff in the car. I poured in a cup, and then I poured some of my oil into it just to see what it would do. And it did what I expected it to do. So say this is your engine and you popped a head gasket and you got some coolant in your oil, and then you ran the engine. This stuff's going to all mix up. And you'll have more oil than coolant, so the ratio may be different, but it doesn't really matter. The same principles applies. So you mixed up your oil and your coolant, and then look at this. This is not time-lapse. This is as it's happening. You see the oil just rising to the top. And that line on the cup, that's the antifreeze line. So you can see the oil just completely separating from the coolant and going right to the top. So there's no way that this has coolant in it or water. It can't be. And let's talk about everything I did that brought me to that conclusion before I even did this. All right, so when that happened last week, that was pretty depressing. Not expecting anything but bad news after that. So, slept on it. Didn't sleep too well. But thought about it and came out the next day and just started going through things because I thought I screwed something up. Nothing made any sense. I mean, it didn't make sense, and I've had popped head gaskets before in my life. What made no sense was no smoke, no pressure in the cooling system. Oil level was not high. It was just where it was. And just didn't make sense. So first thing I did was, obviously I dumped the oil the night before. I put fresh oil in it, fresh filter, and started checking things out. What was the first thing I did? Pulled the valve covers, the coils and the valve covers, expecting to see a milkshake. No milkshake. There was a little bit of tan-colored oil pulled up to the rears of the heads, as expected, because the engine's at an angle, so it would go down there, but it really was very little. Most of the head, valve train, everything looked as you would expect it to look. With the valve covers off, I have a coolant system pressure testing, can I talk today? Coolant system pressure testing tool, where you screw it on and place it in a radiator cap and pump it up. I usually use that before I even put coolant in. I did not on this, I don't believe, in the beginning. I usually do. But anyway, I put 19 pounds on the system. It lost 1 pound in 25 minutes. To me, that's acceptable, because you could be losing it at the cap adapter or something else, but it didn't, that's not bad. I don't consider that bad. Coolant looks pristine. No oil in the coolant. No issues there. What else did we do after that? Oh, and I also had the coolant system under pressure while I had the valve covers off. So I was looking anywhere. Like I've seen, these are not Castech heads, but I've seen how the LS heads can crack, and you can get very small. I didn't realize how small, but I saw a video of one of these heads cracked, and we're talking really small area where you just see little bubbles come up. I looked for that. Nothing, couldn't find anything. But even when you have that, you lose coolant. My coolant level is where it's been. Put everything back together, fired the engine up, ran it up to temperature, ran it up to 200 degrees to get the fans turned on. No issue there. Cooling fan kicked on at 200 degrees. No problem. No excessive pressure in the system. Before I ran the engine, I made a little gauge to stick into the top of the radiator, marked it with a line, so I knew exactly how much coolant was in the radiator, because when you run it up to temp, it's going to build pressure and it's going to push some out the cap into the overflow. And then when it cools down, it'll suck the coolant back in. Did that, and coolant level perfect. And I ran the engine much more than I ever had before. I went and got 10 gallons of 93 because I was going to need it anyway, and put that in the tank, and ran it and ran it and ran it and ran this thing, and could not find any problems. So, and the oil on the stick was showing clean. Now, after all of that, I primed the oil line again because could not find any problems, and I was starting to think maybe something reacted with my oil, maybe the assembly lube, maybe something in there, and something, but not coolant, because that doesn't separate in the cup. So maybe the assembly lube did this. And I primed the oil again, and this time we got oil. It's dark, but you have to remember this engine is not rebuilt. It's just an old engine. So I'm sure there was leftover oil in the galleys and all that stuff. And yeah, it's dark oil, but it's oil. It's not bad. The other crazy thing is, and it was just happened to pop up, I bought another Escalade because it was cheap, and I got another LQ9 to put in something. But I was looking online just to see what those engines would make, say, just with a mild cam in there. So, of course, you start looking at cam swaps and dyno tests, and Richard Holdner's videos come up right away. So he had a video where he was doing cam swaps, whatever, and he just happened to have pictures under the valve cover while he was doing a cam swap. And I am not kidding. I took a screenshot of it, and I'll put it in the video because I couldn't believe it. Inside his cylinder heads is the exact color oil that I had in mind. Is that an assembly lube deal where it gets in the oil and it does it? I don't know. It shocked me when I saw it. Obviously, you saw my video. I was not excited to see that. But then I look at his video, and there it is. Same color oil. And I don't mean like all the oil. It's like the same thing with this one. You'll see dark oil in the cylinder head, but then you'll see this tan stuff kind of like floating around on top. And it's exactly what I had in this engine. I couldn't believe it. So as far as I'm concerned, engine is okay, which is a relief. It would have been nothing but labor to swap the motor out. I have another 4.8 I could have thrown right in there, or a 5.3 or whatever, but I'm so close. I want to make this thing go and do burnouts. So I'm glad, as far as I'm concerned, this engine's okay. I can find nothing wrong with it. But that's pretty interesting. So just for your own knowledge, if you get that kind of looking at oil, put it in a cup. It's real obvious to see if you really have a coolant in your oil or not. So with that said, that means I can continue to work on this pig. However, I am again at the mercy of the delivery trucks because I am waiting on parts. The next thing I want to do on this thing is the exhaust. And what I want to do is, and I'll explain this all when I do the next videos, which will be the exhaust, but bottom line is I want exhaust shooting out of the portholes on the fenders. You know, the Buicks, they have the portholes there up in the fenders. You cannot have those and not spray exhaust, shoot exhaust out that thing. If I can get flames to come out, that'd be even better. But I got to do something with that. So I have some exhaust pieces on order. The main piece I'm waiting on is a bellows section because I don't have any of those around. I know you'd think I would, but I don't. So I had to order a bellows, and I think I ordered some more V-bands, and I can't remember what else, but something else. But anyway, I have to get those parts before I can do the exhaust on this thing. And I'll explain what I'm doing. Again, I'm taking ideas that other people have done, and other than shooting out, I haven't seen anybody shoot exhaust out a Buick Fender. But as far as the design of the exhaust I'm doing, I'm using ideas that other people have done. I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but what I think is the best way to have a street car with a good exhaust and still be able to spool the turbo up and make good power. So that video will be coming up once I get the parts. Probably be another week. In the meantime, I got some other stuff to play with because I can't just let a week roll by without doing something. And I will get another video up quick soon, hopefully, within the next couple days, of something else I'm going to do. And then hopefully by next week, I have all the parts and can start on the exhaust and maybe get some flames out the fenders. We'll see. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Thank you for new subscribers. If you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed, please do. I've got lots of neat projects to do, and probably not your everyday average cars. I like weird stuff, so I'm doing some different things, but I think it's cool. I hope you think it's cool. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.